guys, it's Brandon, your GTA Home Guy, bringing you 5 tips to help cripple your listing. Or, don't. So today we're going to talk about 5 things that you absolutely want to avoid in order to have a great listing and a great sale experience. And if you stay tuned to the very end, there's going to be a bonus that you really don't want to miss, something that's going to be super helpful, especially if you can't get a hold of me directly because you don't live near me. So what I want you to do first is hit that subscribe button, smash the bell icon so that you can get notified of anything as it comes out. I'm going to keep giving you great content. Let's get to it. First thing is pictures. Pictures say everything about your home to the potential buyer. We know that. We want to make sure that they see enough that we get them in the door, but we don't want them to see too much that they say, nah, really not interested. So where is that middle ground? Well, here are some really important tips about pictures that you need to consider. Not having enough pictures, that can be a big detriment to your listing. You want to have enough that it conveys that your property is worth them getting out of their armchair and getting to your house, walking through that door. Next point is you want to make sure that you don't have bad pictures. And bad pictures can be in the shot or the content of the pictures. They are two totally different things. They can be really terrible shots, like the photographer had no idea what they were doing, the lighting's terrible, anything like that. Or you can have a bad content to your picture, which is going to be the fact that your dog is roaming around. Oh, that's so cute. For you, not for the buyers. Is your house a mess all the time? Well, you don't want pictures that make it look like a showroom and then people walk through the door and they're just like, holy hell, this isn't even the same place, is it? No, you want to make sure it's an accurate depiction of your home, however tidy up. Make sure there's not a lot of crap or clutter just laying all over the place, because in pictures that's distracting, and sometimes they'll see just enough that they're not really interested in seeing your home. Quick little aside there, your home is now a showroom. It is no longer your home. So don't be fooled into thinking you can get comfortable, because before that showing you're always going to have to freak out, clean like a mad person, and make sure that it just looks great. Last thing about pictures is you want to make sure that they're ordered correctly, because if a buyer looks at your pictures and they're walking through your house in their mind, it can be really confusing if you just throw random pictures in a random order. You want it to have a logical flow so that it can be looked at easily, and so buyers can start to envision themselves in your home. Because other than that, why would we have pictures? We want them to picture themselves there. Forgive the pun, unintended completely. The next point we're going to talk about is listing too long. Now, most agents want assurance that they can have enough time on the market to get the job done, and that's very important so that they do give you the full effort and that they're fully engaged. But how long is too long? Find out from that agent what the average days on market in your area is. How long should it take to get your home sold for the pricing and the market plan that they are suggesting? After you have that, maybe you give them a little bit of a buffer. So for example, if average days on the market are 30 in your area, maybe you give them 45 or 60 days, dependent on. Some boards, you have to list for a minimum duration in order to get onto the MLS. That's just the way it is. So you're stuck, right? Wrong. What do you mean? Well, there's always a workaround. How so? Let's find out. You are able to ask the listing agent if it's just a requirement that their board says you have to list for 60 days and you only want to list for 45. You can ask them to sign a cancellation agreement in advance. Why do that? Well, as of the 45-day mark, you say, I want this listing canceled if it's not sold. And they say, oh, well, we'll do the paperwork when we get there. No. I would like that in writing right now, and give me the cancellation form pre-signed by you and whoever needs to sign it on your end so that I can just cancel by signing my name. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to just ditch that realtor 100%. It just means that you have the ability to decide again at that point, and you're not going to be talked into a longer listing just because their board requires it. On that, make sure that it's a cancellation, not a suspension, not a withdrawn form, something that actually cancels the term of the agreement, not just suspends the listing process, because you can still be contractually obligated to that brokerage even though you thought that you were going to be released from it. And the best part is you can always sign for another term if you liked how that agent was doing their business and maybe the market just slowed, which is why your property's not selling. You can always extend a listing or list another term. It doesn't matter if you're happy with how it's going and it just maybe went slow because the market has slowed down or whatever. But what you can't do is force the other party to shrink that listing time frame down later. If they're telling you that you can, get it in writing. Get that pre-signed cancellation of the listing. And if your listing goes on too long, the next problem is that it might go stale. How many times have buyers looked at a property and said, wow, that one's been listed 60 days. Man, what's wrong with it? Why is it sitting so long? What do you think they're gonna think it is? Either price or there's something wrong with it. We don't want any buyers to have that impression first of your home just because they're like, whoa, I see things going all the time. Signs are sold, places are gone, and this one's just been sitting around. Yeah, you don't want a stale listing. You want to make sure that that listing is refreshed often enough that it is looking good and brand new. Many reps might actually not do that as a standard level of service. I think they should. Basically, if it's something that's been on too long, you need to get it refreshed. That's doing your job well. But you want to make sure before you sign a listing agreement that that representative is actually going to do that and make sure that your listing's always presented at its best. Get that clear right from the start. Okay, so if we're not sold by 30 days, can you take the listing down and refresh it? What's the process for that? These are all important things that you want to know going in so that your agent is bound to it. And if it's important to you, get it in writing. And if your listing's on there too long, you might get pictures that don't match the season you're in. How many times have I seen something that has snow when we're well into spring? Instantly, I tell my clients, you know what? That home's not a hot property. We can wait before we see that. And why don't we go around and see the hot ones first? So make sure if the seasons change and maybe you've had your first snowfall after the pictures were taken, get a new exterior shot with those pictures having some snow in it. Or grass, or no leaves on the trees, or leaves on the trees. You get what I mean. You guys have lived through seasons before, but don't let your listing be a time capsule. I know what you're thinking. There couldn't possibly be more mistakes that I could make, right? Well, why don't you just pause the video, hit subscribe, and then I'll tell you if there's anything else you need to worry about. I'll wait, because I know some of you aren't near the pause button, but you can click that mouse. It's right there. Get it. All right, let's keep going. Next big mistake is relisting without any changes. That is just doing the same thing that didn't work before. Does that make sense? A lot of buyers have this thing. It's crazy. It's called memory. Yeah, it's tough because as soon as they see something visually, they've inspected it and they're like, okay, this. As soon as they see even that front picture that looks the exact same or some interior pictures that look the same, they may think, wow, no, oh yeah, this is the one I hated because of whatever. Your first listing didn't work. If you're taking it down and relisting it, you may not need a whole reshoot, but you do need some different things in order to seem like it's a different listing. Change everything up. Change the description. Change anything that you can to make that home look a little bit different so that it tricks them into reevaluating it. Because buyers, the longer they're on the market, the longer they're looking at homes and listings, the more frequently you could say, hey, you remember us? We were an okay possibility and you didn't come out to us. Maybe give us another chance. So we've all seen it. A sign goes up and the listing sits there for a while and then that sign goes down, a different sign goes up and boom! Sells within the week. Why is that? Is it because, that listing agent told them their 1,000,005 point selling process? This is how to get your home sold no matter what, no ifs, ands, or buts, and I'm perfect, hire me. Is that what happened? No. I've looked on the back end of things just to make sure what sort of differences happen, and a lot of times it comes down to the fact that that listing just got refreshed. And refreshed, different perspective, everything changed. I've also seen places that get relisted by the same representative over and over again. They don't change a darn thing. Why does it not sell? Because it's the same thing just repackaged that nobody else wanted in the first place. So take a different view of it. Make sure that you get everything kind of catered to you and done in a different way, something that will hopefully not be that definition of insanity that we keep hearing, doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. Next point is we don't want to list with the wrong details. Oh my gosh, I looked at your listing. It's great, except it's not. What do I mean? You want to make sure that your listing shows the best, so you got to have the accurate details, whether it's nearby amenities or things included in your home, things excluded from the sale of your home. All those sorts of things have to be very accurate. Your tax information, your sizes, lot or room sizes. Make sure that everything is good. It's your job as the seller to review everything that listing agent is going to put in the MLS listing, and just take the time, make sure it's meticulous. Be picky. If there's something you're like, well, I don't know if we should mention it. Mention it! Mention it! They won't necessarily notice or see that as a mistake, and you don't want that going out for everybody to consume and then disappoint them later. One thing that I would really recommend omitting is as is. A lot of times people will put that in a listing to kind of cover themselves, and I'm saying that to listing agents. They'll put that in to cover themselves and make sure that, okay, no, everything's as is because my client doesn't want to be liable for anything else down the road. That's good, and you can put it in the offer, make sure that that's expressly written in there, fine. But what does that do to a buyer's mindset? Oh, all the appliances are in as-is condition. What are they trying to pan off on me? Like, how bad are the items? And that's not what you wanted to convey at all. It's not even the case. It doesn't mean that the items are poor quality or anything. It's just, it is, yes, something that goes in the contract, but putting that first in the forefront can really negatively impact that buyer's impression of what you're actually doing. Along the same lines, a lot of listing agents will say, hey, buyer has to verify all measurements and taxes and yada, 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 yada. Don't do that. Tell them not to put that in there. They're doing it to cover their butt. I understand that from a legal perspective, but most real estate boards will have some sort of statement to that effect anyway, that buyers to verify anything that's important to them, and it's usually inherent in a lot of locations in just legal stature, that is something that the buyer's responsible for. But putting it on the listing makes it sound like, wait a second, I, as a buyer, never even thought that these taxes would be wrong, but now I think they might be wrong. So do I trust anything on the listing if something so pivotal and crucial to my purchase is wrong? Do I trust the listing price? Are these pictures really that house? Wait, did they change the address on the front of the house? Am I getting paranoid? You get the point. And the last thing that I want to tell you about the wrong listing details is making sure that spelling and grammar is taken care of. I know a lot of real estate boards don't allow for enough characters to do a wonderful magical description that makes it sound like your home is a palace full of unicorns, but what we do need to make sure is that anyone, regardless of reading level, isn't going to get so lost. Do you have any idea how many times I look at intelligent buyers and they ask, what the heck is an ELF? What the heck is this or that? And I have to explain it, and then they feel kind of dumb about it. People don't like feeling dumb, so make sure if there are some abbreviations, you as the seller can look at it and understand what it is as well. Because if you can't, maybe somebody else might not be able to, and we don't want to make people feel stupid because they don't like to go to the house that makes them feel dumb. And the last point that I want to leave you with before our bonus, listing with the wrong person. Now, there's so much I could go in depth on this about, and I will. There's videos coming out. Just remember, subscribe! So I'm not going to get into a big dragged out conversation, but what you do need to know is there are different ways that people will work. Some people have a lot of solid work ethic, and some not so much. So you want to make sure that you're contracting the right person and the right fit for you. Are they going to be available? Are they intuitive as to what the market shifts mean? Do they have a good market sense? What sort of insights have they given you rather than just validating what you've said? Again, there's so much to that point. You do not want to hire the wrong person, but bar none, make sure that you are hiring somebody who will be absolutely honest with you. And I'm not talking people who just won't be maliciously trying to scam you. That's not what I'm saying. There are people out there who have such a kind heart and really want to do their best for you and may not have the courage to either stand up to you when it's in your best interest or to tell you the truth that's something that you need to hear. There's something between your teeth, there's something on your face. Those people who are too polite to say anything about it, unfortunately, that's not being as honest as you need. Because there are some things that are going to be negative about your home, and if they cannot tell you why your place isn't selling, that's not going to be a good thing. So make sure that they have the backbone and that they're willing to stand up to you when they need to, because you might not love it, and they don't have to be brash or blunt about it and be rude or condescending, but they have to be able to tell you what you need to hear. Just like a doctor, if we're talking about a serious diagnosis, they can't shy away from it because they want to be your friend. I'm a professional, I'm there to do a job. You're gonna hear some things that you may not like to hear, but it is all for your best interest. Now that we've said it, can we move on? Make sense? Glad you're tracking with me. Now, there's this little thing of a bonus that I mentioned. So, how many of you out there think that a listing contract can't be altered? It can. What do you mean, Brandon? How can we alter a listing contract? Those things are printed on paper. Most listing contracts will be a standard form and standardized by either, the province or the state or wherever you live in, maybe just even down to the real estate board that you deal with. But what you do is say, I want something extra put in there. Because most of those are just a contract that binds you to that brokerage. There's very little mentioned about what services you get. Now, I have mentioned this before for buyers that I have a schedule you can request from me at any point, but for sellers too, it exists. Oh my goodness, this is great. If you're not dealing with me and you don't get the standard level of service guarantee, you can ask me by reaching out in the link below to send you a copy, and you can deal with the agent in your area, asking them to include that or something to that extent. Why? Well, because I want to make sure that you get great service, and a lot of the listing contracts are so vague or don't mention at all how your home is going to be sold or what level you should hold to account for that agent, and you definitely have no recourse if they just drop the ball completely. So reach out. This is your bonus. I am going to give you something that makes your life amazingly good, because your agent has to then do it. It's a contract, it's in writing. After you hit the subscribe button, scroll down, read a little bit, click that link, and get that document. If you have any questions, you can reach out on any social at any time. Where? Say it with me. Say it. Okay, I just realized I can't hear you guys, so it's at GTAHomeGuy. We'll talk to you then.
Reach out in any social at GTAHomeGuy. I did that.